I'm Joan Marie Verba, and I'm reading from my novel, Situation Critical today. So this is chapter 1. The star disappeared. Something unexpectedly moved in front of it. John Tracy kept watching to find out what that something was. Whenever an unknown object came between Earth and a star occulting it, that could lead to a new discovery. He avoided the mistake he had made as a student astronomer. On that earlier night, he had drawn his head back from the virtual eyepiece in surprise, missing the best part of the occultation. More experienced now, he maintained his concentration. Smiling, he remembered that the camera was recording. He would be able to review the event later. He kept watching nonetheless. He always found a live event more exciting than a recorded one, and the virtual eyepiece provided a high-resolution image faster than the camera. He could not immediately determine what had blocked his view of the star. The object he had momentarily taken his eye off of as a student had turned out to be a new comet. Despite his error, he had been the first to report it, and Comet Tracy had made a satisfying display in the night sky as it had passed Earth on the way to the Sun, which had drawn it in with its gravity and made an end of it. This object, however, was too dim to be a comet, even a comet at a great distance from the Sun. Perhaps it was a passing meteor? No, it was too slow to be a meteor. The star was taking a long time to reappear. Wait, there it was again. John grinned. This would be a major discovery. No objects, except for the star he had originally sighted, had ever been charted in this region of space. The star winked out again. John's jaw dropped. Whatever the object was, other objects must be orbiting around it. The star appeared again quickly, meaning that the second object had to be considerably smaller than the first. John kept looking. The star winked, meaning yet another, even smaller object, and then dimmed an instant, indicating a relatively tiny object. After another half hour, the star remained steady. John kept the camera on, but finally drew back from the telescope's virtual eyepiece. He rubbed his neck. It had become a bit stiff from the stargazing. Quickly, hands shaking with excitement, he pulled out the recording disc from the camera and inserted a fresh one. He carefully labeled the disc with the date, Greenwich Mean Time, the right ascension and declination, which gave its position in the sky. Then he inserted the disc into the computer. This computer had the latest in astronomy software. John watched two computer monitors. One showed the visual, the other showed the result from the spectrometer, which analyzed the light. Another window opened, giving additional data such as velocity and direction. Viewing all of the readouts, John raised both arms in a silent display of triumph. The preliminary results showed that he had discovered either a tremendously large gas giant planet or brown dwarf star passing the solar system on its way around the galaxy, dragging a set of satellites with it. With deliberate care, John organized the data for transmission to the International Astronomical Union. He entered his name as astronomer and Tracy Orbiting Observatory as the origin of the data. Fortunately, no one found it strange that billionaire ex-astronaut Jeff Tracy had purchased a state-of-the-art telescope for his third son and sent it into space. What the public did not know, however, was that this telescope was a part of Thunderbird 5, International Rescue's secret communications satellite in geosynchronous orbit above Tracy Island, International Rescue's hidden base in the Pacific Ocean. John took the data card from the computer and walked from the Astrodome to the Thunderbird 5's communications center. The enormous satellite's artificial gravity kept him steady as he descended to the next level. Once there, he inserted the data card into the central computer, the one with the fastest internet connection, found the IAU's website, and transmitted the information. When the IAU computer acknowledged receipt, he sat down in the adjustable chair and looked out at the panoramic view at Earth. Although he could see the Pacific Ocean, Tracy Island itself was too small to be seen from space by the naked eye. One of the monitors, however, showed the image from another telescope on Thunderbird 5, which gave a clearer, sharper picture than any military spy satellite. He had focused that on Tracy Island, and he could see the house that he and his four brothers had built, Tracy Villa. The pool next to it was empty. None of his family swam in it at the moment. What he could not see were the underground hangars which held the aircraft he and his brothers used for rescues. The rocket reconnaissance craft, Thunderbird 1, normally piloted by his eldest brother, Scott Tracy, stood in a hangar next to the villa. Its launch pad was under the pool, which slid aside to let Thunderbird 1 rocket into the sky when needed. Thunderbird 2, the heavy rescue aircraft, rested in a hangar in an enormous cave underneath a building they called Cliff House. His next eldest brother, Virgil, usually piloted that one. Sharing the Thunderbird 2 hangar was Thunderbird 4, the compact but powerful submarine operated by his younger brother Gordon. The space rocket Thunderbird 3's hangar lay underneath the donut-shaped building they called the Round House. The day before, he had launched Thunderbird 3 through the donut hole and guided it to Thunderbird 5, where it currently resided in the docking tube. After he and his father and brothers had built Tracy Island, organized international rescue, satellite duty had been split between him and his youngest brother Alan. Each was to serve 1 month on Thunderbird 5 and the next month at Tracy Villa, helping with the rescues on Earth. This was a month where John had been scheduled to stay on Tracy Island, but Alan came down with the flu only a few days after switching with John, and now slept in his room on Thunderbird 5. Jeff had sent John up in Thunderbird 3 to take over the monitoring duties until Alan recovered. John stood from the chair and let out a long, satisfied breath. Again, he looked out the window. The words International Rescue had been set in metallic letters over the pane, though those letters did not obstruct the view to any great extent. Since childhood, his dream had been to live in space. As a young boy, every time his father came home from space, he would listen eagerly as Jeff related every detail, along with his brothers, who seemed no less interested. After his mother died, his father retired from the astronaut corps and founded Tracy Technologies, which provided supplies and construction equipment for the moon base. The central part of the moon base took years to build, and expansion projects continued years after that. At the time John earned his degrees, the core of the moon base was still incomplete. While Scott served in the Air Force, Gordon in the Aquanaut Corps, and Alan in the Grand Prix race car circuit, John and Virgil joined their father at the company and regularly traveled to the moon and back. The two brothers supervised and participated in the ongoing construction, though the time they spent there decreased, then ceased as the various projects met their goals. When they returned from their final moon base project, Virgil worked at the Kansas headquarters as chief engineer for Tracy Technologies, and John split his time between being a guest lecturer of astronomy at NYU and working in another field of interest, finance, as chief controller for Tracy Technologies. Still, John yearned to get back into space. Then one day, to his surprise and delight, his father asked him and his brothers to join him in forming an organization, International Rescue, to save people who would otherwise be beyond aid. Jeff had brought in a genius, Brains, who John had met in astronaut training school, to design the machines they needed. Then Jeff, his brothers, and Brains built everything in secret on Tracy Island. Jeff felt the organization could not run smoothly unless they remained out of the public eye, and after overcoming some difficulties in their first year of operation, the world generally respected their privacy. John found Thunderbird 5 to be a perfect fit for his interests. True, it did get lonely now and then, but every time he looked out that window or used his own private telescope for his research, he felt he was in the place he was destined to be. Even better, the communications satellite satisfied another passion he had nurtured since childhood, radio. Before he had turned 21, he had every radio license it was possible to qualify for. Over the years, he had communicated with people all over the world and spoke several languages fluently. Coordinating communications for international rescue could not have become more naturally. Right now, however, the communications console emitted only normal background chatter. He returned to the Astrodome to see if the camera had captured anything further. Settling comfortably into the observation chair, he watched the camera monitor it instead of going through the virtual eyepiece. He did not expect to see anything else, but just to be sure, he backed up the recording to the point where he left and sped through it. Something blacked out the star field for an instant and then was gone. Wow!